Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So today inshallah probably will be the last class discussing verses 40 to 43 before we move on to verse number 44 in Surah Al-Baqarah. As we have been going with according to a certain system where we initially read the verses, then we translate them from the clear Quran translation, then we comment, and finally we summarize by reading what is mentioned in Tafsir al-Mawardi. So today this is what we will be doing. We will see what Imam al-Mawardi had to say about these verses. So the verse number 40, يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بعهدي أوفي بعهدكم وإياي فارهبون. O children of Israel, remember my blessings that I have bestowed upon you. Fulfill my covenant, I will fulfill yours, and only me you should fear. He says here, he says Israel is the other name of Yaqub, the grandfather of the Israelites, of course. Of course, as you know, Ibrahim had the sons Ismail wa Ishaq, and Yaqub is the son of Ishaq, and so he is the grandfather of the Israelites. Ibn Abbas says Israel is actually a name that is formed of two parts, Isra and then Il. Isra means, in Hebrew, Abd, means the slave of, or the servant of. Il, Allah, which means the servant of Allah. Just like saying Abdullah. اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم. He says to remember Allah's blessings. That would be internally in the heart and the mind, of course, and also to mention the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah has done such and such to us. That's all from the mentioning of the remembering. So because dhikr could mean internal or external, right? So dhikr on the tongue and internal in the heart and the soul. It says ni'mah is basically all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we talked before. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. No matter how much you try to count the blessings of Allah, you would not be able to enumerate them. Now, also there's general blessings of Allah, and there's special blessings on everyone. Every one of us has special blessings that maybe other peoples were not privileged to have. And they had special blessings that they were given more than other nations. وَأَنِّي فَضَّلْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. In some verses, he gave them prophets, he sent them books and revelations, and so on. He gave them victory. So many things he has given them over history. Al-Mann wa Salwa, so many things. وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِي أُوفِ بِعَهْدِكُمْ. Fulfill my covenant, I will fulfill yours. And this is a general covenant, because the covenants of Allah are plenty. There's the covenant of Al-Fitrah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has programmed us in such a way that we naturally, without any kind of effort, we recognize that we are created and that we have no control over our lives, and there's someone else controlling us and providing for us. That's mithaq al-fitrah. That calls any human being to Islam, regardless of his background. Now, and there's also other uhud, the ahd of risala, the messengers and the messages. This is another ahd, this is another covenant that reinforces and supports and affirms the ahd of the fitrah. Whatever the mind and heart tells you, the fitrah tells you, the messages come and only confirm that. And going against the messages of Allah is basically going against your own fitrah. You'll find that when the person goes against the message of Allah, he's really struggling with his own mind, struggling with his own feelings, struggling with his own heart and intuition. He doesn't feel comfortable inside, does not feel comfortable internally. And that's one of the causes of depression at times. A person does not even know, why am I depressed? And he still insists on going against the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he starts attributing his depression to other external causes while the cause is within him. If he had just had internal peace and his belief and actions conformed with the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all this struggle that's inside, that he doesn't know the cause behind, is actually coming from that. You follow? وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِي أُوفِ بِعَهْدِكُمْ. العهد that Allah says, I will fulfill my covenant to yours, meaning the promises that Allah gave to the people of religion, that he would, if they follow his commandments, he will give them honor in this life, he will give them strength, he will give them peace, and of course he will give them the Jannah in the Akhirah. He'll give them Jannah in the Akhirah. Now, وآمنوا بما أنزلت مصدقا لما معكم. This refers to what? Believe in what I have revealed, confirming what has been revealed to you. What is this referring to? The Quran, right? The Quran, referring to the Quran. And it just affirms what the books that they have been given, the Torah. ولا تكونوا أول كافر به. Do not be the first of disbelievers. Do not be the first to disbelieve in it. Because if they disbelieve the people who are addressed here, then all the other generations that come after them of the people of the book will also follow them in disbelief. So they would be the first in disbelief. Or it could mean that they are the first in disbelief because they have the strongest reasons to believe, because they already have a revelation that supports what's come to them. So if you go against this and that, then you have superseded and exceeded other people in disbelief. You have gone the extreme in disbelief. You follow? No. And especially that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the Quran and the circumstances of revelation of the Quran and the place where the Quran is revealed and so on, and what the Quran calls to, is all described in their books in different parts. All they have to do is look at these prophecies and it will lead them to the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and Islam. وَلَا تَشْتَرُوا بِآيَاتِي ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. And do not purchase cheap price for my sign, like do not bargain and trade my signs, my revelations for a cheap price. This cheap price what does it refer to? Refers to anything in this dunya, because even if they are given the whole dunya altogether, that's still a cheap price compared to what they are losing. They are losing the akhirah.
I feel is to trivialize Allah's word.
No, well, he says here, do not give up my signs, my revelation, in exchange for a cheap price. What is this cheap price? They are purchasing and giving up the revelation in return. This cheap price is basically dunya. Anything in dunya. It could be status. They don't want to lose their status. They don't want to lose their following. They don't want to lose their reputation. They don't want to lose their money that they are giving, that they are receiving for the positions that they have been assigned, and so on, right? And if they are given not only whatever the simple things they are given in life, if they are given the whole dunya altogether, still that is a cheap price. And all you have to remember is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, ما الدنيا في الآخرة إلا كما يضع أحدكم إصبعه في اليم فلينظر بما يرجع. He says the comparison of the dunya compared to the akhirah is like one of you sticking his finger in the water and taking it out. How much does he come up with? Compare the sea. Put your finger in the sea and look how much water have you gained out of the whole sea. This is the comparison of dunya and akhirah. While the sea is unlimited, because not only because of the vastness of the sea, but the sea is continuously replenished by the rain, by the rivers, and so on. So it's an endless comparison. It's like comparing one to infinity, ولا تشتروا بآياتي ثمنا قليلا وإياي فاتقون ولا تلبسوا الحق بالباطل. Do not mix, this is what we talked about in a little bit of detail, do not mix truth with falsehood, or do not cover the truth with falsehood. I mentioned the example of them trying to claim the divinity for Jesus based on some false ideas that they have and ignoring all the truth about him in their books and in our book, correct? Also, another example would be the fact that their books warn them of false prophets coming, and that they have to examine the prophet to know the false from the true prophet. So when you tell them, believe in the Prophet Muhammad, they say, oh, but our books warn us of false prophets. Your books warn you of false prophets, which means there are prophets to come that are real. And it's your job to distinguish between the false prophet and the true prophet. That's exactly what your book is calling. It doesn't mean that you reject every prophet that came after Jesus, for instance. You follow? This is another way of covering the truth with falsehood. They use a verse from their book to basically hide all the truth that has come to them. Another meaning of لا تلبسوا الحق بالباطل, he says, do not mix Judaism and Christianity with Islam. This is the saying of Mujahid. To try to make a religion that's a mixture of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, like some people are trying to do nowadays in what they have called the Abrahamic faith. Already, subhanAllah, Mujahid lived in the second generation. He said this 1300 years ago. He says, this verse says, do not mix Islam with any other religion. That's mixing truth with falsehood. And Allah has prohibited that already. You follow? Now, وَتَكْتُمُ الْحَقَّ, and you conceal the truth, such as whatever relates to Prophet Muhammad. وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, while you know. Now, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ, that's very clear. وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Zakah actually comes from two things, has two meanings: purification and amplification. This is the root of the word zakah, because it purifies the soul, purifies the wealth, and amplifies the wealth as well, and amplifies your iman as well. You follow? And amplifies your reward in the akhirah. Now, وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ, and he says this is meaning to perform the prayer, and that's because they have omitted the prayer, the ruku'ah from their salah. So ruku'ah is the ruku'ah that we know about, or ruku'ah means to humble yourself as well, and we talked about that before. I think this concludes those verses, inshallah. Next time we'll try to start the new verses.